Episode 1. The two strongest people on the planet were chosen for the Scarlet squad to defend the planet after enduring several grueling training sessions. Yuito and Nagi were preparing to fight. Nagi was slashed by Yuito. Nagi attempted to drive Yuito to the ground by jumping back and using the wind force, but it didn't appear to work, and Nagi eventually gave up. The two sprinted away as soon as the rally bell rang. News of the upcoming event to officially welcome them into the army quickly circulated throughout the whole country. Nagi was really looking forward to his upcoming introduction, but Yuito was the center of attention. He was the son of the mayor. Everyone questioned if Yuito would be able to handle the hardship, because Yuito's superpower stats were so low. He needed to be skilled in close-quarter fighting to make up for it. It made Yuito a little depressed, but Nagi gave him encouragement. The monster alert sounded at that very time, and the man with the white hair was Karen, the leader of the monster squad. The monster vanished with just a wave. Spring, the second commander, arrived and froze the monster in the blink of an eye. Nagi shrieked as he observed them fighting. During the ceremony, Nagi was drawn to two sisters, Naomi and Kasane. Nagi yanked Yuito away quickly as the ceremony was finished. Since Naomi was a member of the Raodan family, he accessed the search board to look up her information. Kasane was the adoptive younger sister. Yuito recalled that he had first encountered them when he was younger. Kasane appeared to be a little harsh, but Nagi gently reminded Yuito to give Naomi to him and urged him to make out with her. Kasane was concerned about whether or not she would be in the same squad as her sister. Yuito and Nagi were conversing when a buddy came over, and Yuito took advantage of the chance to introduce Hanabi to Nagi. Hanabi flaunted the fact that they were teammates by mentioning her as a childhood friend. Captain Seto, who had electric capabilities, collected everyone and had them describe themselves and their specialities. While having fun, a warning appeared, stating that monsters were approaching the city. The group took on the responsibility of getting to the battleground. The high-altitude cannons destroyed up to 85% of the creatures, leaving the remainder to be dealt with by the team. Nagi was anticipating playing in his first game, but when Captain Seto urged him and Yuito to stop, he felt left out. Since this was their first game, they may be in danger. They settled in to watch Kasane and Naomi battle. Nagi was astonished at how powerful Kasane was. A notification was posted about a girl who had not yet escaped and was stranded in the neighborhood. Yuito and Nagi hurried to help people without thinking. Yuito and Nagi quavered when they were in front of the monster. Nagi grabbed the monster's leg so that Yuito could take her running, but as a result, they couldn't run for very long. Yuito distracted it long enough for Nagi to flee, however they were a little crowded. Naomi showed up. It was simple to get Nagi out, because she had the capacity to anticipate the future. Meanwhile, Yuito fled along the street, face down. Yuito was terrified as he encountered the beast. Kasane appeared to tell him not to falter, that they were working together to defeat this monster. Yuito turned to face Kasane and recalled something. Actually, Kasane reminded him a lot of the person who had previously saved him as a child. They had been transferred to the general department. Yuito became aware of how much he didn't know after his first combat, especially about himself. Episode 2. Kasane awakened from another dream about a crimson thread. Naomi was already standing next to her. Since there was no task that morning, Naomi decided to go out and invite Kasane to accompany her. Yuito and Nagi were outside at the same time. Now all that was on his thoughts was the person who had saved him. They came into Kasane and Naomi by chance as they were both straying towards the front of the temple. Nagi rushed in, believing that it was predestined. He invited the two females to draw lots and go out for tea together. Kasane spoke up for her sister, since she thought Nagi was a little out of line. Yuito inquired as to whether the two had any sisters or other family members. Nagi shoved Yuito aside to cast lots. Everyone picked out their problematic lots except for Naomi. Even though he was aware that it was spiritual, Nagi remained uninterested since he had a task that afternoon. Naomi gathered all the lots together and fastened them into a nearby rope in an effort to banish all the bad luck. Nagi was extremely moved, but Naomi only grinned at Yuito. Captain Kaito arrived to address the mayor since he was worried about Yuito's current condition. Kaito hadn't had the chance to speak with him since joining the anti-monster squad. As Yuito and his crew arrived at the battleground in the late afternoon, he felt something abruptly. He glanced around, but nothing was there. Regarding the task this afternoon, Seto and Kyoto would separate their troops and engage in combat with one another. The winning team would be whomever captured the pennant first. The Kyoto side only had 4 players, which made them difficult to understand. Arashi turned out to be a participant as well. Unlike his vibrant appearance, Arashi was quite lethargic in real life. Yuito received a good luck message from Naomi before she took off. Kasane was well aware that her sister had feelings for him. She confirmed with Naomi and then dashed out to look for Yuito. She required him to demonstrate his suitability to accompany her sister. As the duel got underway, Nagi went to find Naomi, while Kasane focused only on Yuito. Naomi was still able to defend herself from any attacks. Tsugumi utilized her powers to watch everything with a keen eye. Kasane and Yuito took off. When the match ended, Yuito was on the verge of losing. It came out that Tsugumi had made advantage of her aptitude at recognizing the flag. Yuito received praise from Kasane, but she didn't think it was sufficient for her to recognize it. Yuito was perplexed when he received a note from his father, reminding him to come and have lunch with Kaito the following time. Seto and Kyoto arrived in the battleground as the monster alert sounded. The signal was quite faint, since the location where they first emerged was so far from the tunnel. The monsters rushed ahead in great numbers, making it impossible for them to keep up as they fumbled down the tunnel. Captain Shiden shattered the wall in order to discover a way to flee. Before they could do anything, the monsters descended from above, where they had met Yuito and Nagi. The group were directly crushed against the fallen ceiling. Kasane and Yuito cooperated to raise the captain up as they hastily pushed Kasane. They had previously battled the monster together. On the opposite side, however, the stones were preventing Nagi and Naomi from moving. Tsugumi became pallid as the number of monsters became too much. Kasane, Yuito, and Shiden made an effort to breach this solid wall. They eventually were successful. Naomi just caught a glimpse of Kasane, being shot as she frighteningly hurried back to her sister. She was shot by gunshots, where she jumped out to aid her sister. Naomi's body started to behave differently from usual, and then she immediately froze. Episode 3. Naomi turned into a monster right in front of Kasane. Kasane couldn't believe what was occurring as it began attacking people. She was knocked aside, and the captain ordered everyone to join forces to halt it. Yuito requested assistance from Nagi. Captain Spring emerged and teleported the beast away. He pleaded with the group to keep it a secret. He would inform the main organ that Naomi had passed away. Kasane objected. Upon Karen's refusal to accept that, she fled. Karen prevented her from fleeing as she tried to. She wanted to overcome, but only with a hit that knocked Kasane unconscious. Brother Spring was everyone's supervisor, thus everyone obeyed him. Naomi was so adorable and vivacious that when the news of her passing spread, everyone was devastated. They were sick of losing every single teammate in this manner. The monsters were the cause of everything. The mayor was informed by Spring, and he went to express his regrets to him. On the other side, Kasane had dreams about the red thread. It was constantly urging her not to let go. She awoke without her sister being at her side as usual. For failing to be able to safeguard Naomi, her parents sent Kasane a message, saying that they would reject her. Kasane was walking down the street when she ran into Karen. He carried her to the rooftop and assured her that Naomi would not be killed. The only chance for Naomi to become human was when he turned her up to the Seiran army. Believe it or not, it was up to Kasane. Karen said that and left. Kasane headed to the training room to see Yuito, because he was also there when Naomi crashed. It wasn't considered informing others. Yuito realized that the city was keeping something hidden. Yuito displayed some of the bullet casings he had collected to Kasane. Most of them had engravings of the city's symbol. Kasane looked around, wondering whether she had seen something at Naomi's house. They both left together. Yuito had been unable to get in touch with Nagi since he was hospitalized, so Kasane asked about his status. Nagi was unlike the rest. Without him, Yuito would not have come this far. Captain Seto reminded Kasane that she needed to recover fast or else she would put her teammates in danger. Karen planned to seize control of the city in the meanwhile. There were broadcast emergency alerts everywhere. This time, the monsters seemed to be going on the offensive in general. Kasane promised not to pass away before bringing her back. Nagi ran over as they were moving along. After being released from the hospital, he appeared considerably better than before. Yuito, on the other hand, had a feeling that something was amiss with Nagi. When Nagi realized Naomi's passing was startling, but that she couldn't possibly remain grumpy forever, he hurried back to ask. Captain Seto phoned the generals before the monsters arrived, but the transmission was lost. Tsugumi wasn't aware that they were being surrounded until that very moment, having no idea what was going on, while Seto and Gemma already argued. Gemma ordered soldiers to hop around them. Kasane's eyes shifted, and the crimson thread began to fly in, giving her a terrible headache. Luca arrived to assist them, but Karen was in charge on the opposing side. There was nothing they could do with such overwhelming force. Nagi also experienced an abruptly intense headache. He went directly to Kasane after grabbing his weapon. Episode 4. No time for explanation, Karen's troops started to fight. While Kasane was still suffering from severe headache, they brought out their guns to engage the other side. The arrival of the saucer left Yuito unsure of what to do. Yuito immediately noticed and hid it. Nagi made this. He couldn't figure out why Nagi was acting so strangely. Nagi had changed dramatically since they first met. Captain Seto confronted Gamma. Seto found it awkward to fight with comrades in this manner. Nagi repeatedly struck Yuito. Yuito had to safeguard Kasane because she wasn't feeling well. Regardless of Kasane's explanations, Nagi didn't believe it since he had always imagined Naomi was dead. They were pushed away by Nagi as she manipulated the wind to produce a whirlwind. Seto was also shocked by this strength. He raced outside to save Yuito while ignoring Gamma. Seto was aware of the reason for Nagi's unexpected strength increase. Nagi launched a wind lance at Seto after refusing to halt. Seto was eventually acquired, although that was only a diversion. Numerous plates were being shot at Yuito from behind, and Seto hastily offered his assistance. Seto had been bleeding so heavily that he hadn't passed out. He quickly approached Nagi and shocked him with electricity, rendering him unconscious. Because Nagi was also his subordinate, he forbade him from being on the other side. Kasane's eyes once more showed red threads, and she was suffering from a terrible headache. The region was currently being sucked into a hole in space that had suddenly appeared. He couldn't get away from it since Seto was unconscious. Gamma acted quickly to rescue Seto after spotting him in peril. However, the gravitational pull of the hole was so great that nothing further could be done. They fled as Luca went over and transported them away. Yuito opened his eyes in a dream and noticed that everything was a deep shade of red. He quickly grabbed Kasane's hand and walked away. They flew to the room where Kasane was frequently seen. After seeing a clip, red threads snatched Kasane away. Yuito hadn't woken up until then. Although the others had already vanished, Luca also managed to save him. There appeared to be a serious misunderstanding in this, which Gamma recognized he had made. Alarms went off all around the city. All technology could no longer be connected. They went back to Gamma's hidden place. Yuito bandaged his wounds very professionally. Yuito had had injuries as a youngster frequently, and since this was simple, he didn't need to ask anybody. Gamma explained to them what he knew about how the world government affected people's personalities. This was previously a secret, but it now appeared to have been released publicly. Nagi's past behavior was presumably the result of personality changes. The alarm was switched off, causing a monster invasion of the city. The artillery defending the city was unable to fire due to the malfunctioning technology. It was also unable to communicate with the anti-monster troops. The beast continued to wreak destruction everywhere. Karen observed from a distance. This time, he definitely had to get back what belonged to him. Kasane hadn't woken up until then, and the group of pals had no idea where this was. Episode 5. Yuito accompanied them to the battleground and was astounded by the bleak surroundings. They were unsuccessful in their attempts to speak with Wataru on the central organ. Wataru could communicate with Yuito in one direction due to his psychic abilities. The entire city's signet control system seemed to have been compromised by someone. Soon, Wataru would figure out how to revive it. He had hardly left when he noticed several troops around the main organ. These guys appeared to be planning a coup d'etat. Yuito was alarmed, thus his father was in danger, right? Yuito leaped in front of the monsters as they charged at them, killing all of them. The awful news had also reached his father's side. He couldn't figure out why Karen would do anything like this. They would arrive there soon after. They intended to utilize the escape bunker, but its position appeared to be unknown. Yuito cut down the demons as he pieced together his memories. Karen came to congratulate him on his first day at work. Initially, Yuito thought Karen had recognized him because of it. However, it looked from the outset that Karen was directed towards them until Nagi's mentality altered. What would make him do that? His father must have some information. Yuito had to go quickly towards his father. Tsugumi realized spring was approaching when she couldn't slay all those monsters. Because Captain Seto was murdered and they weren't connected to Karen, Spring would take charge of them. Only an ally left at this point was incredibly valuable. To thwart Karen's plans, they must cooperate. The populace had to be evacuated right away, according to Spring. He delegated the task to Yuito's team, who had to visit the central organ to find out whether the chairman of the board was still alive or not. He warned them to watch out for rival demon killers. Luca showed up after Spring had departed. After his best efforts, he could find no signs of Karen or the others despite searching everywhere. The picture of Karen was suddenly beamed everywhere, and Signet was restored. He promised to make the city beautiful. Residents were aware that there was a sizable collection of computers in the center of the city. That object resembled a brain with connections to other people. Karen claimed it restricted people's freedom and made them perform labor-intensive tasks for the government. He proclaimed that they were now free to never do so again. The creatures arrived while people were listening, and all of them positioned themselves for combat. They chased Yuito away so they could assess the mayor's predicament and handle the remainder. No matter what his father did, Yuito hurried to the bunker because he was still his father. He would need to be strong enough to defend his father if he had chosen this course. In the cellar, the mayor was now being evicted. When Yuito arrived, all he could see were dead people. When the monster materialized, the mayor was resting after racing until he became too exhausted. Someone came to save him since he was in peril. Quickly knowing everything, Yuito looked for his father. He ran to Kasane while he was falling, right close to his father. Kasane was clutching a bloody knife, and Yuito was frightened. Kasane raced to assault Yuito without speaking. Episode 6. The Kasane crew was unable to comprehend what was happening. They had to get back to the main office right away in case Karen revolted. They were astonished to see how empty the city was. As far as they knew, Suwon didn't have anything like the ancient research facility the gang discovered. There were several pods scattered around the ground, as Kasane discovered. The one Yuito picked up after her sister Naomi turned into a monster was precisely the same as this one. When Karen suddenly materialized, gripping Kasane's head, she was astounded. She lost mental capacity to him. He sucked on her mental faculties. Arashi tried to catch up with him, but got lost. They had recently left that location when they met someone, so there was no reason to remain there. To assault them, he charged in quickly. When Kasane interrupted them, they were engaged in a battle to defend her. She recognized him as Yuito, but why couldn't his eyes perceive the path? Arashi raised his voice even though he knew it wasn't appropriate. It was as though they had been pulled into the future. They all vanished as soon as he was done, leaving only Kasane alone, so that she wouldn't be drawn back into the actual world. Yuito informed her that Kasane's superpower was the ability to teleport into the future. Kasane accompanied Yuito up the mountains. She was informed of all that had occurred in the past. She didn't think that she had murdered Yuito's father. He was elevated into the position of the city protector following Karen's uprising. He had to battle both beasts and the Seirans simultaneously. He also became aware of his powers at that time. He has time travel abilities like Kasane. The resonance of both powers resulted in the creation of that temporal portal. It would normally disappear, but as Yuito continued to employ superhuman reasoning skills, it persisted. Killing him was the only way to put an end to it, but he pushed the nation to the verge of collapse because he wanted to become a hero. Yuito had a request for Kasane now that he had met her. To assassinate the fictitious hero Yuito, she must travel back in time. Kasane was perplexed by her inability to figure out how to return. Yuito asserted that she was capable of doing it if she had strong emotions. Kasane was given the full account by him. He told Naomi's sister to turn into a monster, and that's what happened. Despite being aware of this, Yuito imitated him. Yuito put himself in the beast's path. Kasane was able to go back at this moment. She sprinted off to the bunker. The mayor was already in critical condition when she discovered him. She attested to the veracity of Yuito's account. Yuito rushed over right then. He was attacked by Kasane. He was halted by Yuito since he wasn't sure of what was going on. When Kasane left, his group of buddies also showed up. Dejectedly, she sprinted up to the terrace, where Kagero suddenly arrived to escort her back to the Arashi gang. She explained everything to them there. Karen unexpectedly showed up among the friends. The city's signet has been fully repaired. All the forces on Karen's side had also left. Yuito gathered news while reading in a nook. His father warned him to be cautious in the city before he passed away. That eluded his comprehension. It seems that Kasane and the Arashi gang had already followed Karen when Gamma went to tell them. They would then deal with Kasane. Yuito was promptly summoned to the headquarters by his brother.